Leica has a small camera. Starting from the version released in 2003 up until now in 2024, there's yet another new version. In total, there are 8 versions. Do you know which camera this is? Hello everyone, I'm Frankie from M&K Kamera. So, today I'm going to talk to you about an entry-level compact Leica camera that can zoom. The camera is right here, so let's take a look at what model it is. It's the Leica D-Lux 8, the latest model released in July 2024. By the way, I've noticed that a lot of people who watch our videos haven't subscribed yet. Remember to subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications, so you'll get notified whenever we upload a new video. Now, I won't go into detail about all the previous versions here. The main focus this time is on the D-Lux 8. This camera uses a 4:3 CMOS sensor and comes with zoom functionality. As for the focal length, it's 10.9 to 34 millimeters. You might be wondering, what does that mean? It's not full frame. Well, it's equivalent to a 24 to 75 millimeter focal length on a full frame camera, which is a very commonly used range. So, what about the design language of the D-Lux 8 now? Actually, it's basically very close to the Q3. First, let's take a look at the leather covering. The leather is the same as on the Leica Q3, right? And of course, the logo goes without saying, it's the same. Now, if you look at the back, it's even more obvious. Alright, let's take a look at the D-Lux 8. On the D-Lux 8, there's a play button on top, then up, down, left, right, and an OK button, plus a menu button. Even up here, there are 2 function keys and a diopter adjustment for the viewfinder. The Q3 is pretty much the same here. Play, menu, up, down, left, right arrows, 2 function keys, and a diopter adjustment. The diopter adjustment button is a little different though, yeah. So, up here at the top, it also looks very similar. The D-Lux 8 has a speed dial and a shutter button, but these 2 functions are a bit different. For example, this Q here is actually the power switch. Because the D-Lux 8 has a zoom function, this part here is used for zooming. There's also a function button and a control dial. As for memory, we're talking about using SD cards. The recommended type is UHS-2. UHS-2 is actually pretty easy to tell apart. For example, this one is a UHS-I card. UHS-I cards have just 1 row of contact points, while UHS-2 cards have 2 rows of contact points. So, I've actually tried using it before, and sometimes, if there's data from other cameras stored inside, and you put it into the D-Lux 8, you might run into issues where it doesn't work properly. That's why I recommend everyone to use UHS-2 cards. It should be more reliable. The camera itself doesn't come with a charger or anything for charging, so you'll need to charge it directly using a Type-C cable on the camera body. This camera already comes with a flash, and it's really compact. Maybe you wouldn't expect it, but this camera actually supports high-speed flash. What about when it comes to synchronization? It can reach a shutter speed of 1/4000th of a second, but if you can't do high-speed sync, what happens? You'll get half the photo lit and half dark. For most cameras with a mechanical shutter, the fastest sync speed is usually just 1/250th of a second, so for this entry-level camera to achieve such a high-speed sync is pretty special. In normal mode, if you're shooting at the closest focusing distance, it's about 0.2 meters, but when you switch to macro mode, it can actually get as close as just 3 centimeters. The resolution of this camera isn't particularly high, at most. It's about 17 million pixels. It can record video continuously for up to 29 minutes. The EVF has 2.36 million dots, and the refresh rate is 60 frames per second. Under normal circumstances, using it feels very smooth. It has both a mechanical shutter and an electronic shutter. The camera itself has a lot of mechanical parts for direct manual adjustments. For example, you can adjust the aperture, and as for the aspect ratios of the photos, you have options like 3.2, 16.9, 1.1, and 4.3. This lets you directly output in a format that suits different social media platforms. In terms of focusing, you can choose manual focus, and you can also use it together with autofocus, macro autofocus, and manual focus modes. So this camera is suitable for most situations, like when we go traveling. For everyday use, like group photos, portraits, landscapes, and architecture, it performs really well. The 24mm lens is especially great for shooting landscapes and buildings. For example, I once tried it at the clock tower in Tsim Sha Tsui. From about 25 to 30 meters away, I could take a vertical shot and capture the whole clock tower in one go. At the Tsim Sha Tsui Pier, looking across the harbor, this camera is also a perfect fit. This is a focal length that covers most situations, but it doesn't make the subject look too small. At 75mm, which is the longest focal length, even though the maximum aperture is only f2.8, because 75mm is a longer focal length, the background blur makes the subject stand out even more. The distortion control is also excellent. When shooting a close subject at 24m, you can still capture enough of the background to give context to the subject. At 24mm, the focus distance is a bit closer, but when you go to 75, it's relatively farther away. However, the size of the subject in the image is enlarged. Overall, it's about the same, depending on whether you want to emphasize the subject more or include more of the environment for context. Even when the background color and the subject color are similar, you can still tell them apart. How about the subject and background in low-light environments? And the shadow areas? The performance is still pretty good in terms of details. They're clearly rendered. Now, as for black and white photos, compared to modern lenses, the performance is basically about the same. That is to say, it focuses more on color photo rendering, while for black and white photos, the performance is relatively less impressive. The gradation and grayscale aren't as rich. But in terms of saturation performance, it's actually very rich. For portrait photography, I think its 24mm is quite handy. For example, in Hong Kong or other big cities, it's the same situation. There are a lot of people, and sometimes the scenes are just too crowded. There are so many random passersby weaving in and out, so when you use a telephoto lens, sometimes you're too far from your subject and it's easy to get interrupted by others. But if you use a wide 24mm lens, not only can you capture the background, and the distance between people is also much closer, which helps reduce interference from passers-by. As for skin tones, they're natural too, fair with a healthy flush. In terms of dynamic range, it's not particularly high, but you can still make minor adjustments without any problem, and the results still look natural. When it comes to rendering a sense of depth, especially when the background and the subject have very similar colors, that's when the camera and lens really get put to the test. Even then, this D-Lux can still deliver rich results. Speaking of street scene changes, the sense of depth it delivers is actually pretty good. Where Leica really shines is in low-light atmospheres. Even when the lighting isn't sufficient, the photos still don't lose their vibrancy. Its performance with long exposures is also quite satisfying. As for ISO performance, it ranges from 100 to 6400. In general daytime outdoor situations, it will automatically select ISO 200 for you, but I feel that even at ISO 200, the noise is still there. It's a bit on the high side, and when you zoom in to a certain extent, you can definitely notice it. The maximum ISO is 6400, and if you don't zoom in, it's just about acceptable. As for the dynamic range of this camera, it's pretty average. After all, compared to full-frame cameras, there's still a noticeable gap, but that's actually quite normal. Now, there's another feature, which is Leica FOTOS. This Leica FOTOS app lets you connect your camera to your phone. So first, I'm going to add the camera backend. For this camera, we'll select the D-Lux series. Alright, so this is the D-Lux. Okay, let's continue. So, what's next? Over here on the camera, let's turn it on first. Here, select Leica Photo, then go into Start Pairing. Alright, now it's pairing. It's found it. The phone has found it. Okay, let's add it. Done. It's successfully connected. Now it's syncing the date, and the GPS has been set up. So when you take a photo, it will record your location at that moment. Alright, it's connected now. Now you can view photos or even take photos right here and control it like this. I've closed the cover, so there's no image showing now. So you can choose different things. I think the chances of using this are pretty low, but sometimes you can use the remote control to set it up for taking photos. Like for group shots, you can handle it this way. Also, when it comes to getting the photos, as long as it's connected, the camera will have the photos and you can retrieve them. You can view them right away and also download them. Just select it here. For example, say I've already selected 3 photos and then I download them. Now I'll choose DNG, which is the largest size, and download them. Once that's done, I can immediately view a DNG photo. You can open it in Lightroom to fine-tune it or handle it in your photo album. Both are fine. Finally, to sum up, this camera is an entry-level model for beginners. The colors are beautiful, the sense of depth is strong, and its ISO performance has improved. The adjustable dynamic range of this camera isn't particularly high, but with a bit of tweaking in Lightroom or Photoshop, it's actually acceptable. However, if you're dealing with extreme lighting differences, it might not be able to handle it. Its biggest advantages are that it's light, compact, and convenient for everyday use. Another thing is the price. When it comes to this brand, this price is really quite affordable. I believe this camera will be very popular, but my only concern is with Leica as a manufacturer. There might be more demand than supply, so what do you think about this device? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments section. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Thanks everyone for watching. See you next time. Bye bye.